Good morning, everybody. This is Richard Bernhardt. I'm with Streakwave Wireless in California. Today is another edition of Streakwave webinars. We're presenting today EnGenius Technologies with a focus and concentration on their competitive choices in indoor and outdoor wireless. We have an inordinately wonderful cast of characters behind the scenes today. Great presenter and some very interesting and in-depth information for you about the EnGenius line and Wi-Fi choices. Our presenter today will be Brian Watt. He's the product manager for EnGenius Technologies. And in the background, to answer any questions and to come on the line as needed, we have Jeriel Tenorio. He's a senior FAE. Eric Chen, who's the product manager for the Neutron Series. Eddie Lee, who's the product manager for the Electron Series. And myself, Richard Bernhardt, I'm the Senior Marketing Manager, Marketing Director for Streakwave Wireless. Just a little bit of background, and then we'll get into the presentation. Streakwave Wireless is a value-added global distributor for the fixed wireless broadband industry. We provide equipment and related products for all of your Wi-Fi and broadband needs across the globe. When you hear about today, or if you have questions about projects that you're working on in the Wi-Fi or the broadband world, please feel free to give Streakwave a call at 888-604-5234 or come see us on the web at streakwave.com. That's all the advertising I'm going to do for today and move into our presentation. EnGenius Technologies has been around a long time. You're going to hear a little bit of history about the company, a little bit of background on what they do, and then some in-depth analysis on the different lines of products that they have. It's my great pleasure to introduce Brian Watt. He's the product for EnGenius Technologies, and he'll be taking us through the presentation today. So welcome, Brian, and let me just give
Thank you, Richard.
Let me just give a little bit of housekeeping, and then I'm going to turn it over to you to do the presentation. If you have questions during this presentation, this is a live webinar, and we don't open up the microphones per se, but you do have a question section on your control panel. Please type them in there throughout the webinar. We'll get to them either during the webinar or at the Q&A. The second part of the webinar is a Q&A. We'll do that as an interactive Q&A with a lot of important information in that Q&A. So feel free to type questions throughout the session, and we'll get to those. If your question isn't answered for any particular reason, we will get to it offline. We'll try and get through all of them. So it's my great pleasure at this point to introduce Brian Watt and turn the helm over to him. Welcome, Brian, and have at it.
Thanks, Richard. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Brian Watt. I'm a product marketing manager for EnGenius, and we're going to step through some of the products, like Richard said, some of the product lines, and hopefully we can answer all the questions that you may have. So let's begin. If you're not familiar with EnGenius, we're a U.S.-based industry expert in wireless communications and RF technology. We actually got our start in long-range telephony, and we've branched out into networking over the years. We've been in business for, I think, over 15 years now. One of the differences, or one of the things that we bring to the table, is we offer a lower total cost of ownership for a lot of the solutions that we provide. We have a wide array of indoor and outdoor wireless networking solutions. We have a lot of clients in the hospitality area and in the education market. We deliver robust feature sets, and like most technology companies, we offer robust pre-sale support, standard tech support, email support, and RMA support. I'm going to start talking about the Electron Series, which is a series of mix and match business class networking products, and we provide products that exceed the performance of enterprise level networking brands for much lower total cost of ownership without recurring subscription license or maintenance fees. A lot of our access points are very high performing and great long range connectivity. So let's talk about that. So these are some of the access points. One of the newer models is the ENH1750EXT, which is a dual band 3x3 802.11ac ruggedized outdoor access point. This shows the various angles of the product. It's a quick access point to provide Wi-Fi, for example, in a restaurant situation, or for any guests or patrons who tend to congregate outdoors. The 1750 EXT is a great solution. One thing that a lot of our access points have is they have two PoE ports. So when used with the injector that comes with the access point, you can then on the other Ethernet port tether an IP surveillance camera. So so if you have surveillance deployments that you need to think about, then these are great solutions for that. And that shows the extra port. We have several lines of outdoor access points. We have what's called an ENGenius series. These are very low-cost access points for small startup businesses or smaller businesses generally. They still have good RF power, so good transmit power of like 400 milliwatts on each of these. Obviously the ones with the antennas are omnidirectional antennas, and then the ENGenius 500 and 202 have internal directional antennas that should be pointed back to the AP. The outdoor bridges, so there's the ENH 1750 EXT that we talked about. We also have a 900 EXT, which is up to 450 Mbps on both the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz frequency bands. We have a 700 EXT, and then we have two directional access point / bridges, the ENH 500 and then the ENH 202. Those each have internal directional antennas. We've just come out with what we call end stations. These are disc-shaped, essentially point-to-point devices for the WISP market for hospitality, agribusiness, convention centers, sports venues, and shopping malls and military bases. So small form factor for the WISP as a WISP CPE. They're high performance, yet competitively priced. They're very easy to configure. Sorry about the spelling area on that. It delivers increased RPU for WISP customers and pretty low overhead. Here's essentially some of the throughput ratings. So at half a mile, you're looking at 90 Mbps. At 1.8 miles, you're looking at 60 Mbps, and at 3 miles, you're up to 30 Mbps. So it's a good, building-to-building solution. You'll see that the mount can easily accommodate, articulating and repositioning the device, so you have good point-to-point line of sight targeting, and they're rated IP55 for harsh, weather conditions. This is they also have an additional Ethernet port for tethering a surveillance camera. This is a solution that shows a parking lot scenario in that regard, pointed back to a central AP. And there's some, here are the specs on these. Again, these are end devices, so a dedicated 2.4 gigahertz model, that's the end station 2, and then a dedicated 5 gigahertz model, which is the end station 5. The 2 has a 13 dBi integrated antenna, and the 5 has a 19 dBi integrated antenna. Then for indoor, this is a ceiling mount access point. These have been very successful for us. We've designed them to look like smoke detectors, so that helps to minimize tampering. So this is, you would see this actually inverted on the ceiling. This is the counterpoint to the outdoor unit, so this is the EAP 1750H, H meaning that it's an AT-rated PoE-capable device. So it draws a little bit more power, and you need an AT PoE switch to power it, or an additional injector. So again, 3 streams band, and it features band steering, which we'll talk about in a couple minutes. So this is kind of a lineup right now. We're always adding to the lineup, but this is the current lineup, the EAP 1750H. the 900H, which is the 450 by 450 Mbps model, the EAP 600, which is a dual band, the 300 by 300 Mbps model, and then a dedicated 2.4 access points, the EAP 350 and the EAP 300. And again, fairly high dBm ratings to deliver longer signals that can penetrate through walls. We found that in a lot of cases we can penetrate up to 3 floors in a building if the AP is centrally located in the second floor, for example. So you'll get signal coverage in the first and the third floors in addition to the second floor. We've also noticed that we get a lot of outdoor coverage with this beyond the exterior walls of the buildings. Each of these models can be monitored and managed somewhat with Easy Controller. So we have various features for that. This is an application that's available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. And it allows you to essentially see what the signal strength could be if you position certain APs, so you can upload floor plans, and then you can monitor each device. You can see what kind of traffic load each of the access points is carrying. This slide is, just shows you some of the models that are available for Easy Controller. And for more robust control, or actually, I'm sorry. So this is the 48-port PoE Plus Layer 2 switch with 4 dual-speed SFP ports. This is one of a line of switches. So we start in this line with as far as Layer 2 switches, the 5212 FP, which is a full power. FP meaning full power. The 720. The FP version of that, which is 370 watts total PoE budget, and then the EGS 7252, which is the 48-port switch that we just saw. So for more management and for more control, we have the Neutron Series, and this is very successfully launched several months ago, and it's getting some really nice adoption. And so the value proposition, it's a new milestone, actually adding more control features to this solution, a new OS for this probably in the December timeframe. So, but basically, it offers a solution again for low total cost of ownership, again avoiding subscription and licensing fees for multiple access points. So if you have clients that are budget constrained and need to fit a solution within a certain budget, this would be a very good solution to look at. Some of the venues that we've lit up and we continue to light up, business campuses, schools, hospitality as well, and we're making some inroads into the sports arena venue. So again, one of the salient differences with our solution is that the Layer 2 switches are actually wireless network controllers. They have 2 interfaces. They have a switch interface, and then they also have a controller interface. The controller interface gives you visibility to all the, we also have one grade feature so that you will be alerted if there's for the access points in the switch controller interface, and then you can upgrade access points cluster that are connected, configured as a cluster connected to the switch. This is an application called Navigator, which allows you to manage the Neutron switches at those particular sites, and so you are then able to manage all the access points connected to that. If you're managing several clients' networks, you can do this from the convenience of your office. And just some of the features of the controller interface. Obviously you can automatically discover the APs. We have, again, floor plan maps, and so you can have a floor plan or topology, even a campus view of the access points that have been connected. You can manage each of their radios via the controller interface. Again, manage all the wireless settings and formulate these or configure these in clusters. This shows a topology view. So this shows the access points that are connected to a Neutron switch If there's an interim switch that's not a neutron switch, it will essentially pass through the information to the neutron switch. So the interface will identify it as essentially a third-party switch, but you'll still have connectivity to the access point and you'll still be able to manage it. In the center of each access point, you'll see a yellow dot. That will indicate how many clients are associated to the access point, and then you can isolate on that particular access point and get more statistics and more information on the traffic flow, and you can even look at it on a per client basis to see if there's a particular client that tends to be hogging the bandwidth for one reason or another. So then you can also see, you can also get real-time throughput and traffic reporting. You can get historical reporting. You can look at the history of the particular access point, its performance over time, and the clients that have been associated to it. So, so we have a series of switches, anywhere from the initial 8-port switch all the way up to 48 ports. They're all PoE plus in this case, and they're all controllable. So you can control the threshold of each PoE port and determine whether each port needs as much power as it's sending out, or you can throttle that back. And again, we talked about the one-click access firmware updates. So fast roaming, when used with the Radius server, particularly this is good for hospitality or employment situations where you have employments that roam around a campus or throughout a facility. Then you can connect, when in conjunction with the Radius server, you can essentially activate roaming. So all your employees can stay in touch, or all your clients' employees can stay in touch in the network. Band steering. So I alluded to this a little bit earlier. Band steering is a feature that that we're very fond of, and band steering allows the network administrator allows them to set it up for band steering, such that if you have dual band or 5 gigahertz clients that enter the network, and they initially maybe manually associate on the 2.4 gigahertz SSID. When band steering is activated, those dual band clients will automatically be shifted over to the 5 gigahertz band, so that essentially it optimizes traffic flow. So it tends to spread out the clients for both spectrums so that there's less bandwidth issues. This is just a quick snapshot of the devices that are available in the Neutron solution. And again, the switches on top, the indoor APs, also ceiling mount, and then the 2 outdoor APs, which we have the EWS 660 AP, and the EWS, I should say, 860 AP. That's a typo, sorry. This is just some of the tools that we talked about that are available with the wireless management interface. Again, Auto AP Discovery, I won't read the entire list. You can review this later. But essentially, all the tools that you'll need and the diagnostic tools that you'll need to keep your network up and running and to optimize it on occasion. This just show you a couple scenarios. If you go to EnGeniusTech.com, you'll see some animated scenarios and deployments of various venues. This is actually based on something that we did for the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. We have about 60 devices there. They're actually Electron devices, and we're in discussions to upgrade those to Neutron. But this just shows you how these APs would be situated in and around the stadium, and this is only for back-end infrastructure services. So this is not for general public Wi-Fi, which is handled by telco carriers, but this is for event staff and security and ticketing and credit card authorization. So again, universities and high schools and grade schools, we're getting a lot of play in this with the Neutron series. We do have a case study coming up where we're going to show video of a school system up in the Northern California area that has adopted Neutron, and they're ecstatic about it. So we'll be happy to share that with you when that comes. Again, this is just a little deeper dive on the switches. All the switches are available today. And this shows you the relative PoE budget for each. So this is the 7928, which has a 185 watt PoE budget, the 5912, which has a 130 watt total PoE budget. They're all ATAF rated products. And that's just a larger image of the 78. This is the FP, so this is a higher rating. One thing I neglected to mention is on the Neutron switches, the 8-port 5912 FP can support up to 20 Neutron access points on the network, so you can manage up to 20 of those. The larger switches, the 24 and the 48-port switches, support up to 50 Neutron access points. So again, you keep adding switches, you keep adding access points, and you can scale your network, your wireless network, pretty rapidly. This is, again, the 48-port version. And here's just a quick overview of the different features. And then the indoor and the outdoor access points. This is the EWS 210, 310, 320, and 360 APs. Again, ceiling mounts and the Mbps ratings. They all have gigabit ports. The 860 AP and the 660 AP actually have dual gigabit ports, and they're AC rated, so much faster on the 5 gigahertz stream, which is beneficial for streaming video. The indoor, this quick overview, the comparison between the indoor access points, and again, I won't belabor this, but again, high dBm ratings, again, to push the signal out further and to penetrate walls. And again, the outdoor access points, these are both AC models. The only difference between the two really is that the 660 AB has an internal omnidirectional antenna, and the 860 has the external antennas. Here's a couple case studies. Again, all these case studies are available on our website as well, so if you want to read these in more detail. But this is a school, and they're raving about the product. So we're getting great range, says the network administrator for this Lima Christian School back in, in Lima, New York. And so it's a very simple system to deploy. You actually, the interface is very intuitive. You don't need to have a lot of deep wireless networking knowledge. Of course, it would help if you did, but the system is sophisticated enough to set up very, very easy, or as this person says, almost stupid easy. And then a lot of the smaller hotels and the residence-type hotels are adopting this because, again, it's very simple and easy to manage. You don't need that many access points to light up an entire hotel. And so I would encourage you to read about this as well on our website. And so that leads us to the question and answer portion.
Brian, thank you for your presentation. As you can see, EnGenius has quite a broad range of products and across many different solutions and applications. So let's start with that. The Neutron solution is one of the classes of solutions that you described. What's included with that, and why do I choose the Neutron solution?
So again, it's a scalable system. So it depends on what your deployment needs are. I mean, and how many access points you'll need to light up a particular venue. But in order to manage the access points, you will need a switch. So how big the switch you'll need, it's really up to you. And how many access points you'll be managing is really up to you. But you can continue to scale it as you need to. So if you buy one switch, you can buy additional switches. They can be, connected to each other, and you have total visibility to the network through the switch. So.
And once you set this up, you can scale it up later, right? So you can add additional switches if necessary, or controllers, and make the system larger.
Absolutely. Yeah. And as you connect, the minute you connect the Ethernet cable and access point to a switch, it's immediately discoverable on the network, and you'll see through the interface. It will prompt you whether you want to add the switch to the network and then configure it, or configure it as part of an existing cluster, for example.
So you talked about two different families of products, the Neutron and the Electron Series. Can you tell us what the basic difference is between the two, and how do I choose between one or the other?
Yeah, so I think the Electron series, it's good for you know, a lot of existing networks where there may be a gap in a network or somebody wants to add wireless to a certain portion of the network. Then the Electron series is good in filling some of those gaps in larger networks. Or for smaller businesses that are just starting up, that they may not require a lot of manageability. They may not need to. It's like once it's up and running, that's fine with them. For a lot of Pro AV situations, Electron series may be just fine. You know, a lot of the dual band access points in that, and the switches are fine to push you know, high bandwidth applications around, say, a large, you know, home or what have you. For the Neutron series, it's actually a much more you know, deep in terms of features and manageability. It's a much more deep solution. So and much more robust, and it's designed more for, you know, larger venues and venues that have a lot of, you know, access point needs. So it's just it's a step up, I guess, if you will.
So if I were using the Neutron series for, or the Electron series, you tell me which, for a mixed use, so I want a number of indoor APs, but I also want to put security cameras on the system, surveillance cameras, which would be the best choice for that kind of application, say in the campus environment?
Well, they'd probably both be good. You'd probably just get a lot more measure of control with the access points in the Neutron series. So it'd just be easier to control. And again, if you're remote from the site, you know, through Navigator and through what we're calling a Neutron OS that we'll be featuring in Q1, then you'll be able to remotely control you know, over the internet, the site. So you don't even have to do a truck roll or send one of your IT guys out to troubleshoot something. You can do it remotely. So that I guess itself is quite a value compared to the Electron series, where you tend to have to be on site in order to troubleshoot or fix anything.
Do these systems offer QoS? Do they offer the ability to choose between voice applications and video applications and data applications?
I will let one of my tech guys answer that.
Okay.
Jerome.
Yeah, those kind of things, especially if you're using, since both the Neutron and Electron series, when we're talking about the series as a solution, they do have configuration on the switch that you configure specifically for, say, just voice or for video. So yes, they do have full QoS capability.
If I am using the indoor APs and I've got them spaced out, and you had mentioned that the APs could go up a number of floors and have pretty substantial coverage, but one of the most frequently asked questions with APs is whether or not there's a zero handoff or a seamless roaming. Can I go between the APs without any break off of either video signal or voice signal as I do that?
Yeah, you can. Again, we do it through a Radius server, so the user would have to be authenticated to the server. So that tends to be somebody who's an employee, not necessarily a visitor or a guest in a hotel, but it would be an employee of the hotel because they'd be authenticated to the server.
And on that subject, do you have the capability of handling BYOD? Can you segregate rights between a user who is a visitor and a user who is an employee, and then employees that are lower rights versus, say, for example, an executive who might want full network rights?
Well, yeah, we pretty much would have to create a specific SSID for guests. An SSID that would be just for those users that you want to provide the highest privileges to. That would, say, if you wanted seamless roaming for a voice over IP application, only specific devices would be able to connect to that. You can do all of that with either solution, actually, but the Neutron series does make it a little bit easier.
And you know, for companies that have already established VLANs, obviously for their various departments and organizations, and all of our access points support SSID VLAN tagging. So yeah, we've got that under control in both the Electron and the Neutron series.
So let's talk about deployment and manageability for a few minutes. If I'm just doing one or two APs, I can just go out to the AP, or before I put up the AP, I could set it up the way I need it set up. But if I'm rolling out 10, 15, 20 APs, is there a way to remotely configure those and administer them? How does the deployment process work?
Yeah, so again, like I mentioned on the Neutron series, the minute the AP is connected via Ethernet back to the switch immediately sees it and recognizes it and prompts you to determine whether you want to add that to your network. So again, after you've done your physical deployment of actually going out and setting up the APs around the campus or around your facility, and at the minute those are connected to the network, then you can sit back at your desk and through the controller interface start configuring those APs and how you want them configured, and what kind of how much of a wireless signal do you want to propagate, and things like that. So and whether you want to join those as part of a a roaming scenario as a cluster or what have you back to a radio server. So yeah, you can do all that from the convenience of your desk.
And the management system, the WMS that you have, it allows you to make changes as along the way, right? So that if you need to change the capacity, or you need to load balance or do something along the way, you can do that from your management system. Is that how it works?
Absolutely.
So talk to me a little bit about that management system. You showed a slide about the management system. Why don't you talk a little bit about how it operates and where you're going with that? I know you're doing some updates to it as well.
Well, let's see. I think I'll defer to Jeriel on that. So, let me just understand the question. So you just want to understand how it operates, how the management system operates?
Some of the features of the management system and what I can do with it, you said from the convenience of your desk or wherever. What are some of the features and functions that the management system offers?
Okay, so again, you have the options from a visual perspective to see either a floor plan or a campus or a map view of the network. So you can see where the devices, where your access points are situated throughout the network. You can also see a topology view of the network. You can you can manage the wireless signal on each of the radios of the access point through the control interface. You can again give various usage rights to various access points depending on your SSIDs again. So I mean, it gives you just a. Hopefully, I'm answering your question, but it gives you a lot of tools and visibilities and diagnostic and tracking tools. So you can. Again, you can look at each AP, you can look at the number of clients associated with each access point, you can look at each individual client that's associated to each access point and see what their bandwidth usage is. And you can see that historically as well. So you can go back in and look at a history of that particular access point and the clients that have associated to it over time and determine whether you need to make adjustments, whether you need to add another access point in the area, and what have you. So it gives you a lot of visibility into the performance and the daily performance of the network, and gives you just a level of control that you don't normally have with just a standalone access point.
So let's talk about the access points themselves and walk through them a little bit. First off, can a Neutron Series access point work as a standalone AP? Does it have to be connected to a controller? Or is it necessary to connect it to a controller?
No, it does not have to be connected to a controller. It can work as a standalone AP. Obviously, you get more bang for your buck or more performance value if it is connected to the controller. You just get more versatility in what you can do with that access point. But yeah, it absolutely can be used as a standalone AP.
And if you are using the controller, can you mix it with other brands, or should it always be EnGenius APs? And I know it would be a preference that way, but is it possible to use other brands?
Well, yeah, I mean, I like to put it this way. We peacefully coexist because we follow network standards. So we peacefully coexist with other third-party brands. But in terms of manageability and control, it has to have essentially, you know, you have to have a neutron access point connected to a neutron switch because it's the firmware that we embed within the access point that allows that level of control. So, yeah, we don't claim to control other third-party access points. So yeah, I mean, from our perspective, the more Neutron Series products, the more control that you have over your wireless network.
What about third-party security and surveillance cameras over the PoE switches? Can I use any brand that I want to use on that system, or I know you now are coming out with a line of cameras. Are they geared more towards your cameras, or let's say I have a systems compliant camera. It's got to fit within the standards, but can I use those cameras with your system?
Yeah, absolutely. We're agnostic as far as any cameras can be used with the system. Again, we're following just network standards and protocols. So you know, we don't, you know, we can't control the cameras through the Neutron interface, but they obviously can be connected, you know, via PoE back to the switch. Absolutely no problems with that.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about, away from the two lines that we talked about specifically, and talk about some of the things that EnGenius offers. Talk about your support, because I know support is an important thing to almost anyone who's using your equipment. Talk about some of the kinds of support you guys offer.
So I'll let Jeriel take it away on that. Suffice to say that you know, if there are questions about, you know, given deployments, or somebody is working on a bid situation and they're saying, yeah, you know, I'm not sure, will your products do this or will your products do that? I mean, we're always open for queries and questions like that, and we're happy to get, you know, to help you guys win business. So absolutely, send us any questions you want in that regard, and we'll be happy to answer that. But Jeriel, on the other levels of support, I'll let Jeriel describe those.
Yeah, so like Brian mentioned, we do offer pre-sale support. That's probably the majority of what our team does here. We also do have a high-level technical support team. We have several levels. We have a level 1, level 2. If you are a big volume dealer, a lot of times we will start working with you closely so that you can bypass the level 1 and get directly to level 2. And of course, once you get beyond that, beyond the level 2, you'll be working directly with our team here. You know, a lot of that is more of where we really work closely with a specific application. Say, if your customer was an ISP, a lot of times we'll work to make create a special firmware to just for their little need, maybe a small tweak in the firmware to address a certain need.
Yeah, and I would say that, you know, Jeriel has been known to travel. So as the case arises where it's a very large deployment, or you know, maybe a few hundred access points or whatever, and maybe they need some additional technical assistance, you know, we can scramble some support folks out to help on that. So we've done that in the past, and we will continue to do that.
So let me interject here, and we'll get back to the products in just a second, because I think this is an area where we can help a little bit as well. So again, I'm from Streakwave Wireless, and we are a master distributor for EnGenius as well as 50 other brands. And so if you are a VAR, systems or network integrator, a WISP, a service provider, or anyone who is using this equipment in a professional capacity, you can open an account with Streakwave, and our support team can also provide support for EnGenius. So if you are looking to resell this product and you need to understand the line, understand how it works, that's a great place to come in and talk to a Streakwave account manager. Our account managers are knowledgeable across all of the radio lines and can provide you with insight. If there's something we don't know about, that's when we'll turn to EnGenius and seek out their assistance as well. If you are a service provider or a WISP or an ISP of any kind and you use these products for the deployment to your network, we're also a good resource for that because we can provide with all sorts of educational information on how to deploy these, where they're best deployed. Applications and solutions are one of the things that we focus on very heavily. So if you have a question about will this work in a hotel and which products line, whether it's the Neutron or Electron Series, or there's another use you have, and there's a bunch of technical questions about specific adaptations into solutions, it's a real good idea to give us a call because we can help you with the deployments or how your projects will work as an integrator. So let me tell you a couple of things really quickly. You can find that information at streakwave.com, or you can, as I said, you can give us a call on our 800 number. We're always available for that, and we will come back to EnGenius wherever it makes sense. A little bit of housekeeping before we go back into the questions. We do make a recording of this webinar. I apologize for the audio. We'll try and clean it up in the on-demand side, but we'll make it available on streakwave.com. If you go to the manufacturer section of streakwave.com, you'll find EnGenius, and you can watch this webinar again if there are questions or you want to look at the slides again. We also have a YouTube channel where it's available there. So it's usually the most asked question I get on a webinar is where can I get more information and how can I learn about the stuff that I'm hearing. That's one of the ways you can do it. So let's turn back to the products. Let's go to the outdoor products for a little bit. You talked about the ENS and the ENH lines as being the two different outdoor lines that you offer. I want to know a little bit about what's the difference between the ENS and the ENH, and then how ruggedized are these things? If I'm in an environment, say in the Northwest or the Southeast, in the Northwest it might be really cold, or in the Southeast it might be really hot. How well are these products set up for environment, and what's the difference between the ENS and the ENH lines?
Yeah, I mean, basically, ENS, I guess you would think of it more of as a, you know, a low-priced budget line, I guess, for a smaller business. So whether that's a smaller startup or maybe a merchant who has an operation in a strip mall, maybe has a small coffee shop or something, you know, those are adequate for most needs, even for occasional building-to-building bridging, you know. So those are fairly inexpensive solutions. The other products, the ENH line tends to be a little bit more professional grade, you know, higher DBM ratings, longer distances, better connectivity, and just a bit more versatile. So that's probably the difference between those. And then in terms of you know, being rugged for harsh environments, you know, I think they've been able to survive in a lot of different environments, whether it's you know, Arctic conditions up in Alaska, or you know, very hot you know, desert-like environments with consistent heat. So I think we haven't experienced anything that we really couldn't handle to date. So you know, we've got I believe we have some APs up in some national parks up in Wyoming and things like that. So I think we can pretty much take anything. So
there was a question, one of the questions, we got a couple of questions about environmental context of these, and I want to interject something because there are products available. We offer some at Streakwave that allow you to provide some additional protections to the products themselves. So what I might suggest is if you're in a very heavily environmentally corrosive environment, so you've got moisture, you've got ice, you have rain, you might consider NEMA boxes as a solution. So you can enclose the radio, the outdoor radio, into a NEMA box and use it in an enclosure, because some of the environments are considerably harsh, and you need to choose your NEMA box correctly, one that's either environmentally controlled or not, depending upon what your need is. But that not only secures your radio, but also provides an environment for the rugged environment. So that's a suggestion I would make. Also, most of the higher-end EnGenius outdoor devices are set up for fairly extreme environments, but as with all radios, you do need to take your precautions. Let's talk a little bit. You mentioned the end station. Can you tell me a little bit more about the end station line does?
Yeah, I think I'll defer to Eddie Lee, who's the product manager for those new products. So he's making his way over to the microphone.
Okay, so basically the end station, we have an end station 2 and 5, 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. So it's a point-to-point solution, as Brian just mentioned in the presentation. For the end station 2, 2.4 gigahertz, it comes with the 13 dBi antenna. So in the end station 5, it comes with the 19 dBi antenna. We just conducted the testing, throughput testing, actually near our office, and we got the throughput for the end station 5. It's like 45 meg within 2 miles range, so it's pretty far. And also, end station 5, it can up to 3 miles, even with better throughput. So if you have some, for example, like a highway scenario, right? So you can attach your camera and with a point-to-point solution to tethering your camera with the wireless solution. In addition to that, you can also use for example, WISP. We have a lot of WISP customers need a client bridge to receive the signal from the tower. So basically, our end station can receive the signal from the tower with a 2-mile range or 3-mile range.
Great.
So, and also, you know, for digital signage solutions, like say you're an auto dealer and you have a digital sign out closer to you know the freeway or what have you, and a little far from your facility where it's just not feasible to run cable, then the end stations are a great solution for that as well.
So that's a remote solution, and I have seen a number of EnGenius outdoor products used in combination with remote power systems to do remote solutions and applications. It's another area of solution and application that EnGenius offers. I want to turn to, we have 1 or 2 more questions, and then I'm going to close this out for the day. I've got a couple of questions about mesh, and I know on your website you have coming soon. Maybe you can talk a little bit about a roadmap and where mesh is coming in any of your product lines.
So I believe on the Electron series, on some of the newer access points in the 2.4 gigahertz frequency band, we do support mesh. I believe we're still working on the mesh solution for Neutron. Is that Q1? So in Q1 next year, we'll have a mesh solution for the Neutron series access points. So we are still perfecting it.
Great. Well, I want to thank the team, Brian especially for your presentation, and Jeriel, Eric, and Eddie as well for your support. As you can see, there are a lot of products and a lot of solutions available through EnGenius Technologies. We're very pleased to be a provider and a distributor for EnGenius. If you have questions, or if we haven't answered your question today, please feel free to get a hold of us at Streakwave. Again, you can reach us via the 800 number at Streakwave, 888-604-5234. Call in and speak with one of our account managers, or you can come in via the website. We're happy to answer any questions about EnGenius's products, as well as all of the related products in the Wi-Fi and broadband industry. My name is Richard Bernhardt. I'm with Streakwave Wireless. We're pleased to have you and EnGenius present today. Please join us for other Streakwave TV and Streakwave webinar presentations. They're always free and available. If you'd like to see this presentation again, In about 24 hours, it will be available on Streakwave's YouTube channel, which is very simple to get to. Just go to streakwave.com, youtube.com/Streakwave, or you can come to the landing page or the microsite on Streakwave for EnGenius, and you'll find it there as well. Thank you to the team, and this will end our webinar for today. Have a great day.